Anselmus Cur Deus Homo. Book 2nd, Chapter 16. How God took that man from a sinful substance, and yet without sin, and of the salvation of Adam and Eve. Boso, as therefore you have disclosed the reason of those things mentioned above, I beg you will also explain what I am now about to ask. First, then, how does God, from a sinful substance that is of human species, which was wholly tainted by sin, take a man without sin, as an unleavened lump, from that which is leavened? For though the conception of this man be pure, and freely from the sin of fleshly gratification, yet the Virgin herself, from whom he sprang, was conceived in iniquity, and in sin did her mother bear her, since she herself sinned in Adam, in whom all men sinned. Anselm, since it is fitting for that man to be God, and also the restorer of sinners, we doubt not that he is wholly without sin. Yet will this avail nothing, unless he be taken without sin, and yet of a sinful substance. But if we cannot comprehend in what manner the wisdom of God effects this, we should be surprised, but with reverence should allow for a thing of so great magnitude to remain hidden from us. For the story of human nature by God is more wonderful than its creation. For either was equally easy for God, but before man was made he had not sinned, so that he ought not to be denied existence. But after man was made he deserved, by his sin, to lose his existence together with its design. True, he never has wholly lost this, viz., that he should be one capable of being punished, or of receiving God's compassion, for neither of these things could take effect if he were annihilated. Therefore, God's restoring man is more wonderful than his creating man, inasmuch as it is done for the sinner contrary to his deserts, while the act of creation was not for the sinner, and was not in opposition to man's deserts. How great a thing it is, also, for God and man to unite in one person, that, while the perfection of its nature is preserved, the same being may be both God and man. Who then will dare to think that the human mind can discover how wisely, how wonderfully, so incomprehensible a work has been accomplished? Also, I allow that no man can wholly discover so great a mystery in this life. I do not desire with you to do what no man can do, but only to explain it according to your ability. For you, for you will sooner convince me that deeper reasons lie concealed in this matter, by showing one that you know of, than if, by saying nothing, you make it appear that you do not understand any reason. Anselm, I see I cannot escape your importunity. But if I have any power to explain what you wish, let us thank God for it. But if not, let the things above said suffice. For since it is agreed that God ought to become man, no doubt he will not lack the wisdom or the power to effect this without sin. Also, this I readily allow. It was certainly proper that that atonement which Christ made should benefit not only those who lived at the time, but also others. For suppose there were a king against whom all the people of his provinces has rebelled, with but a single exception of those belonging to their race, and that all the rest were irretrievably under condemnation. And suppose that he who alone is blameless has so great favor with the king, and so deep love for us, as to be both able and willing to save all those who trusted in his guidance, and this because of a certain pleasing service which he was about to do for the king, according to his desire, and is as much as those who are to be pardoned cannot cannot all assemble upon that day, the king grants, on account of the greatness of the service performed, that whoever, either before or after the day appointed, acknowledge that he wished that he wished to obtain pardon by the work that they accomplished, and to subscribe to the condition there laid down, should be freed from all past guilt. And if they sin after this pardon, and yet wish to render atonement and to be set right again by the efficacy of this plan, they should again be pardoned, only provided that no one enter his mansion until this thing be accomplished by which his sins are removed. In like manner, since all who are to be saved cannot present at the sacrifice of Christ, yet such virtue is there, instead that its power is extended even to those far remote in place or time, but that it ought to be it it ought to benefit not merely those present is plainly evident, because there could not be so many living at the time of his death as are necessary to complete the heavenly state, even if all who were upon the earth at the time were admitted to the benefits of redemption. For the number of evil angels which must be made up for men is greater than the number of men at the time living. Nor we may believe that, since man was created, there was ever a time when the world which the creators made for the use of men was so unprofitable as to contain the human being who had gained the object for which he was made. For it seems unfitting that God should even for a moment allow the human race made to complete the heavenly state, and those creators which he made for this use to exist in vain. Boso, you saw by correct reasoning, such as nothing can oppose, that there never was a time since man was created when there has not been someone who was gaining that reconciliation without which every man was made in vain, so that we rest upon this as not only proper but also necessary. For if this is more fit and that reasonable than that at any time there should be no one found fulfilling the design of which God made men, and there is no further objection that can be made to this view, then it is necessary that there always be some person partaking of this promised pardon, and therefore we must not doubt that Adam and Eve obtained part in that forgiveness, though divine authority makes no mention of this. Anselm, it is not incredible that God created them, and unchangeably determined to make all men from them, as many as were needed for the celestial state, and yet should exclude these two from this design. Boso, nay, undoubtedly we ought to believe that God made them for this purpose, viz., to belong to the number of those for whose sake they were created. Anselm, you understand it well, but no soul, before the death of Christ, could enter the heavenly kingdom, as I said above, with regard to the palace of the king. Boso, so we believe. Anselm, moreover, the Virgin, from whom that man was taken of whom we are speaking, was of the number of those who were cleansed from their sins before his birth, and he was born of her in her purity. Boso, what you say will satisfy me, were it not that he ought to be pure of himself, whereas he appears to have his purity from his mother and not from himself. Anselm, not so, but as the mother's purity, which he partakes, was only derived from him, he also was pure by and of himself.